Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Season 1, Episode 6 of Sprung. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So immediately picking up where the last episode left off. Well, first and foremost, we got that flashback at the beginning with Rooster as a kid going through the aisle and being enchanted by all the cereals. And I love that, was it that Milking cereal song that was playing? It's actually pretty damn catchy. I think that probably was a legit song just used for the purpose of the show. So obviously it is a pre-existing song. I also did not realize it was as old as it is. I mean, just like looking it up on YouTube, like there's videos. I mean, obviously YouTube's been around for a while, so the song might be even older than that. But regardless, either way, that just kind of took me by surprise. And in the moment we were getting all those like fun cereals and stuff, I'm like, your mom's going to get you the generic brand, and she's like, yeah. I mean, to be fair, when you're buying cereal, you're buying, you're basically paying for like the mascot and the brand. Branded cereal. That was my failed attempt at a Homer Simpson. Moving along. But nevertheless, like I said, going back to present day, kind of moving past the intro. I mean, it's still relevant to the episode because it's kind of what Rooster wants. He wants to be able to get enough money to obviously marry Wiggles, and even tells Gloria and Jack that they're engaged, and he's like, yeah, now that we're engaged and stuff, we're probably going to end up having kids and stuff, and so he wants to basically have enough money so that his child never has to worry about growing up and getting generic cereal. He's like, that way my child could get all like the fancy cereals with all the high fructose, and I'm like, I see where you're coming from. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it had significance in the episode aside from just being like a funny bit at the beginning, but it's part of like what's kind of ingrained in Rooster of like, yeah, that's how he knows he's made it, when he has enough money to buy non-generic brand cereal. But I love that Jack was supportive, being like, oh, congratulations, potentially, getting engaged and potentially having, if you guys decide to have kids. With Gloria's like, please don't do that, because she's like, you're an idiot, and she knows who Wiggles is, and it's like, I don't want either one of you procreating. I love that. What was that line from Rooster? He was like, I was the fastest since first grade for 3 years straight, or whatever. So he managed to get up in the back of the truck to try and switch out the paintings. Did not go well because he got stuck in the back of it. So they're having to chase after him. And we actually got to learn a little bit more about our thieves, who are a couple, which is actually really sweet. It's like, hey, you're kind of in the thieving business together. But we ultimately did find out it was Paula behind that. First, you're like, okay, so was it an insurance scam? It's like, well, it ends up being a lot more than that, but we'll talk about it later on. But it's like, okay, because they had the same thoughts I had, like, once again, was it insurance, or like, who could have known? It's like, well, apparently Rooster, which I figured as much. It's like, I was like, oh, well, I gave him too much credit last episode because I've thrown it out there. I was like, maybe it's like, he probably didn't tell Wiggles anything, but he did say like, oh, we were stealing paintings. It's like, Rooster, and he's like, what? Well, yeah, and I said it was from a congresswoman, and they're like, really? She's like, I never said which one it was. So it's like, I doubt Wiggles would have found that out on her own and would have put two and two together, so I guess it's fine. But at the very least, it kind of shows, like, hey, he's being more open and honest with her. Because, he said, in the beginning, at least, he was lying to Jack and Gloria, being like, oh, yeah, I just told her I was going to be making some money and stuff. But now it's like, okay, he told her some of the truth, which, to be fair, that's what she wanted. She wanted some honesty. So it's kind of sweet knowing he did that, even though he was supposed to keep his mouth shut. And you kind of thought he did, but apparently he didn't. At least he partially kept his mouth shut to some extent. Like, pretty lucky that, and pretty smooth on his part, Rooster slipping out of the back of the truck. That was kind of brutal, getting his hand crushed by the door just to make sure it didn't close and latch. So, and at first, him hiding the painting underneath the truck, I was like, well, that way they drive away. That way you're not seen walking, or rather running away with a painting. It would look a lot more, giving yourself time to get away. So, and I also appreciate the flashback we got too with Barb visiting Rooster in prison, and obviously kind of more insight into why she's doing what she's doing. It's about so that he can be rich and wealthy, but it's also about being able to kind of prove people wrong, because she's like, yeah, everyone looks down on us like we're clowns or something. So, but at the very least, it is sweet that they do have each other. Like, oh, like, because he scratched off a ticket and said, oh, you get a free ticket. And it's like, she was like, oh, you're still in the game. And then when her card didn't work out, when the lottery ticket she's trying to the scratch off, she was trying to scratch off, didn't work out, he gave her the free ticket, being like, you're still in the game. I was like, honestly, that is a really sweet dynamic they have. Like, they can be bumbling, but they're very, like, they have a very loving relationship. So, like, and not everyone can say they have that type of relationship, with their mom. So I thought that was really sweet. So, but sadly, clashing comes up between Barb and Gloria because Rooster grabbed the wrong painting, which he's like, why'd your mom have to make an exact copy of the painting? It's like, because we asked her to do that, of course. And it's like, oh, stop blaming Rooster just because it's like he forgot, he didn't get the painting that we could have all used, because if he had actually grabbed the right one, we'd all be super rich right now. And just kind of pauses for a second. But it's okay, baby. But obviously everything Gloria's saying, because she is talking down to Barb, because it does make, because for her it's like, right, I'm a con artist, I'm not, because now Barb's suggesting like, well, we can blackmail her, because now we know like she's committing fraud and stuff like that, we can make some money off her. And it's like, yeah, my mom's very good at that. It's like, yeah, my mom, like, is like, she's like, I'm good at, blackmail, along with casseroles, winemaking, and prostate play. And Rooster's like, she crushes that shit. I was like, wait, what did you just say? And then, but she paused, she goes, he's talking about the first three. I was like, okay. Because I was about to say, that would be weird, bro. That's super weird. And ultimately, Barb kicks him out. I love the whole roundabout way of, like, she went in the freezer, put out, was it some waffles or something? It's actually a frozen gun in there, which she needs, I guess maybe because it's frozen, she needs the wooden spoon to kind of pull the trigger, and threatens them, and then shoots the bird that she was complaining about. She was hoping that Jacker would be around, to help get rid of that bird that, like, wakes her up in the middle of the night or the middle of the morning. So she got rid of that, so... But I also appreciate the little flashback with Jack and Gloria in prison, and them flirting and through the toilet and everything. And Jack's like, okay, what was that thing you said, like all the young kids college? Rooster's like, boo, and he's like, it's your thing, boo. I was like, oh, it's super cute and super adorable. And she's like, yeah, I had a dream that, we were together, like, holding hands, but then I woke up and it was just me holding my hand. He's like, yeah, I had a dream we were at our wedding and your sister was there. And it's like, oh, that bitch is like, yeah, but she was, like, super jealous of you. And so she tried to throw something, it hit the cake, and then she started making out with my aunt, one of my aunts. Like I said, it was a dream, so... But it's like, yeah, it's like, oh, he wants to marry you too. And the fact is, he put a Kit Kat on a rat just to send it her way. And her bunkmate, I said bunkmate, Jesus, like they're in camp. Her cellie, was it Diamond? And it's like, oh, like, you got yourself a king or something, because the fact is he did that, which was actually really sweet. And I love present day. He's like, yeah, I know you don't like me bringing up anything between us in prison, but hens are a Kit Kat. I was like, oh, dude, I legitimately like what they're doing. I think it is super sweet. But when it came time for them to ask for money, because he wants to ask his parents for money, which he's kind of embarrassed about, but he hopes to have enough money to get to San Diego, that way he can sleep on their floor, because he wanted to get enough money so that he could move into a house with them, so he could get them out of that retirement home. And to be fair, like, he avoided seeing them for so much of that 26 years because he was too embarrassed, and I was trying to make up for lost time, and he wants to be around his parents. He wants them to be in an actual house and not just a retirement home. I don't know if Gloria actually even said what she plans on doing with the money. I guess just, like, living her best life, I guess. But neither one of them wants to call, like, the person. She wants to call her sister, but she doesn't want to, but has to. And him having to call his parents. I love, like, all right, rock, paper, scissors on who has to do it. And they end up making out because she's like, this will probably be the last time we see each other. Plus, she had to give herself some liquid courage to talk to her sister. And it's like, nope, we're not going to talk to my parents or ask your sister for money. What we're going to do is we're going to rob Barb and Rooster because... And it's like, oh, because Barb taught me how to easily rob her house. I love that. Knew exactly what extra cash was. Stepping on the steps in a very specific way so it doesn't make noise. Robbed the place, on Saturdays because that's when she's got a sock on her door and she's like sexting with her lover. And because she's like, yeah, you kind of basically have to repent on the Lord's Day, so it has to be the day before or whatever. I figured there was probably going to be some kind of hiccup because I'm like, there's no way they can get away with just purely robbing Barb and just kind of get away with it. And they were most of the way there, except for when they cranked the car, Rooster was in the back because his mom needed him to go to sleep and he can't sleep, and that's how she used to do it, but now he's too big to carry back inside the house, so now she just leaves him in the back car. So it's like, cool. So that... Plus Barb hearing the car turning on, she comes outside and is like, wait, you were robbing me? Is that my car? My snacks? My son? But it's like, right. And like they were too embarrassed to call the people in their lives because they didn't want them. It's like, oh, you didn't want them looking at you, looking down upon you, looking at you like clowns, like you did to me. Do you see what I'm putting down? And Gloria's like, right. And I love Barb being like, yeah, the reason why it hurt so much is because I thought we were gal pals. I was like, oh, because she really, and I do love bringing that back full circle in that regard. There was also a line from earlier in the episode I want to circle back to that I just thought was kind of a nice like callback. There was a conversation between the robbers that it's like one was like, oh yeah, like he doesn't like that his SO leaves, like because he makes cereal in the middle of the night because he can't sleep because the other one snores, and it's like I have a deviated septum, but it's he leaves the milk out, and it's like, oh, like having warm milk for a smoothie. And then Jack was like, oh, maybe we all need to like relax a bit to get some warm, I love some warm milk. And I'm like, I love bringing that kind of full circle like that. It's just kind of like a little line of dialogue I thought was kind of interesting. I was trying to remember at first. I was like, him referencing warm milk. I was like, why does that sound familiar? Because it's like, yeah, because the robbers were talking about that earlier, kind of when they were kind of discussing their couple stuff. But, oh, my other favorite line of the episode, too, was, I'm circling back, I'm sorry, I'm a little all over the place, when she was, back in 2019, when she was talking, when Barb was visiting Rooster in prison, she was like, oh yeah, meet my new, like, my new beau, like, I want to be rich enough that way, like, that's the only way I'm gonna, that's another reason for her, it's like, oh, like, her lover is too far, like, too out of her league, so she's hoping having money would kind of compensate for that, and it's like, oh, he could wet a saltine cracker, and it's like, gross. No kid needs to hear his mom talking like that. Either way. But luckily when it's all said and done, Barb ends up forgiving Jack and Gloria, so they're kind of back in because they ended up stumbling across some very interesting information because through the cameras, which also have you could speak through them as well, so that's how Barb's been using their HBO, by like having it on mute because you don't want to make any noise to wake people up, but that's how she's watching what seems to be Game of Thrones. But then we get into the whole thing about Paula and her husband. It turns out this is all Paula's situation and not, well, her husband's just involved, but he was not told because she didn't want him having another heart attack because after the last business they were involved in, he got so stressed out by it, he had a heart attack. Well, it turns out the whole point is like, okay, I'm switching out all this stuff and moving it to our condo. Basically, when the vaccines roll around, they're going to have that information first, and so they plan in on investing in on the very specific vaccines that come out about it. So making like a hell of a killing off of it, which is like, wow. It's like, wow, we thought she was bad before. It's like, yeah, she's super evil. It's like, yo, white collar criminal evil. But then I'm sure like you can make the argument like, oh, that's a deeper commentary because there's plenty of people making money off like, vaccines and stuff like So it's like, I'm sure it's kind of an even deeper commentary on that. It's not like Paula's the only person who's done that, but it's like she's kind of like a caricature, kind of a parody of real life in that regard, So, and I do love a villainous thing of like, oh, we're all alone, so let's lay our entire plan bare type of thing. But when it's like, okay, we're not just going to blackmail them. At first I was like, oh, it's Gloria, because Gloria's like, oh, the fact is, like, going to get rich off of this virus that is killing people. And so I thought she was just going to purely be like, we're going to make sure they go to jail. I thought that's what she was aiming for, but she's like, no. We're going to rob them of every dime that they have. So I'm like, okay, that's more in line. I mean, it's about taking them down because, like, once again, you found out, like, oh my God, they're garbage people. So it's like, we'll be doing the world a service by, like, taking them down and probably going to rob them of everything and make sure they go to jail. So it's kind of like, it's kind of a twofer. So it's kind of what I was thinking. But also, they're majorly going to get paid on the side because you're going to take them for everything that they're worth. So that's definitely going to be interesting because now it's not just a swap and like a home robbery. It's going to be a full-blown bank robbery of sorts. So things have gotten escalated even more. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. I believe, if I brought it up earlier in the season, but I don't remember now. I want to say it's only 8 episodes. Just because Freevee and like Amazon stuff typically is, but I'm assuming it's only going to be 8 episodes, maybe. So if that is the case, this should be the last 2 episodes of the season. Should be next week, but if not, then because I think I read that we're only 8 episodes, but I could be misremembering. But either way, potentially episode 7 and episode 8, the season finale, are going to be next week. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.